very good morning to everyone present. I am Isha Dhar.
And I am Nitya Nair.
And together we will be your hosts for today's program. We have all gathered here for the event TEDx Youth at Delhi Public School, Bangalore East. TEDx is a grassroots level initiative created by the non-profit organization TED, or Technology, Entertainment and Design, whose overall mission is to promote, research, and discover ideas worth spreading. TEDx brings the spirit of TED to local communities around the globe through TEDx events, reaching out to the world with its philosophy of simplified, authentic storytelling.
Here at Delhi Public School, Bangalore East, we seek to inspire ideas and conversation among students. Through events like this, we are able to impact their lives and give them an opportunity to learn. The past 1.5 years have been very challenging for all of us, and we seek to bring change to our school through this invigorating experience in the form of insightful speeches. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 4th edition of TEDx Youth, organized by the students of Delhi Public School, Bangalore East. Through online facilities, we have been able to connect with speakers from different parts of the country who have amazing achievements, experiences, and knowledge they can impart to us. I would now like to invite our principal, Miss Manila Carvalho, to address the gathering and grace us with her thoughts.
If you want something you have never had, then you have got to do something you have never done. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 4th edition of TEDx Youth at DPSBangaloreEast. A warm welcome to Mr. Mansoor Ali Khan, Treasurer KKECT, Member Board of Management DPS Bangalore Mysore and Founder School of India. It is his progressive thoughts and far-sightedness that keeps us constantly motivated and to think innovatively while we keep raising the bar of the best practices at our school. Thank you, sir, for being a constant pillar of strength and guiding force for all of us. I also thank all the principals, vice principals, and headmistresses of our sister concerns who have joined this program today. A special warm welcome to Mrs. Vasanthi Tyagarajan, principal of Shisha School. It gives me immense pleasure to have amongst us the august company of the luminaries who have carved a niche in their field of expertise. I would like to extend a gracious welcome to a very special guest this morning, our speakers, Dr. B.B. Raghunath, Major Aditi Mohan, Mr. Mayank Solanki, and Mr. Yash Aradhya. TEDx Youth is a celebration of the indomitable spirit of youth, of enthusiastic participation, motivation, initiative, inspired feat, and myriad perspective. Inspired by this notion, TEDx Youth at DPS Bangalore East was visualized and conceptualized and has been hosted by our students since the past 3 years. I'm delighted to share that this year too, it is the fruitful effort of the young minds of a school which has given form to today's event. It is their ebullient spirit and dedicated focus that helped in the planning and execution of this program. I'm confident that today's event will provide a unique opportunity for all our students who have joined us on this platform and also watching us live on YouTube to cherish the success stories of our eminent speakers. The tales of their lives could be an invigorating guiding force for them. I'm sure the priceless words of our stellar speakers will enthuse all of you, and you would all take back valuable lessons for life from here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for extending such a warm welcome. We would now like to spread the zeal of the event by beginning the show with a small video.
On with the show.
We could not have put our thoughts in a better way. Let us now commence the main program and be enlightened by our wonderful speakers. Inviting our first guest of the day, Dr. B.B. Raghunath. Dr. B.B. Raghunath is a doctor by profession and humanist by nature. He is an ex-army doctor and enjoys empowering high school children of rural classes to perform at the best of their abilities. He took up the age-old tradition of community baby shower to usher in a mini revolution in propagating safe hospital deliveries in rural Karnataka. Currently, he is serving as the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in the Department of Health and Family Welfare Karnataka. I now request Dr. B.B. Raghunath to share his experiences and his journey with all of us.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. An encounter with an inquisitive mind of a child is the most beautiful experience for a conversationalist. Whenever I get a chance to address a group of children, I have a simple question to them. Who is your best friend? At times, there is an instant answer. Sometimes they ponder, but many blush, and everyone has a best friend. Then it is their turn to ask me. I say, I've also had lots of good friends, but my best friend is Swami Vivekananda. He is a friend who never goes away. Since I was a kid, he was my best friend, walking beside me, his hand over my shoulders, guiding me and inspiring me. He wakes me up with brilliant ideas to serve the downtrodden. He makes me restless with new plans of serving the unfortunate. As I joined my high school, I was introduced to Vivekananda Balak Sangha, an organization run by the Ramakrishna Mutt, Bengaluru. The main principle was character building, personality development through Sarvatmukha Belavanige or all-round development, and under the guidance of a great monk, Swami Purushothamananda. Shrunvan Tuvishve Amritasya Putraha Uttishtata Jagrata Prapyavara Nibodhata. Here, ye children of immortal bliss, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. These were the thoughts which reverberated in our minds and became a part of our DNA. To commemorate Swami Vivekananda's address to the Parliament of Religion of September 11, 1893, we celebrate that day as Universal Brotherhood Day. I was in my class 8th or 9th, and I walked up to the Swamiji and said that I wanted to celebrate this function in the Swami Vivekananda Sabhangana. With an amused smile, the monk said, yes, go ahead. 1,000 thrilled spectators celebrated Universal Brotherhood Day and were inspired. In his speech, the Swami said, this small boy, Raghunatha, came up to me and said he wanted to celebrate this function. And I was amazed with his confidence, a proud moment for me and such a boost to my confidence. The ability to organize thousands of camps was laid there on the stage. Life after death always intrigued me. A chance reading of a book inspired me to write a story. I was in my second PU. The story revolved around a soul and its journey after death to its rebirth. Born out of the imagination of a very inquisitive mind, the story got the third prize in the state level intercollegiate short story writing competition. When the Swamiji read this story, he said to me, Raghunatha, thousands of people have written thousands of stories on thousands of ideas, and yet you found a new idea to write upon. These words had a huge impact on a teenage mind and my intellect. Every year, annual celebrations were held in the Ramakrishna Mutt, and the boys of Vivekananda Balak Sangha volunteered in various departments. I was in the bookstall which sold books at discounted rates. Out of nowhere, I was posted to the cycle stand portfolio. I was devastated. From the glamorous bookstall, the cycle parking lot, where my job was to see that the cycles were parked orderly and watch them through the functions. I protested. I was of a thin frame, 30 to 40 kg teenager. The Swami was a 6-footer. He came close to me and softly hitting on my chest said, I wanted to grow. I wanted to evolve. I wanted to become a leader. These were the first steps I took towards a leader role. My first thought about career after MBBS was to give my best years to serve the nation. I had 3 appointment letters, the state government one, the army, and the Assam Rifles. I selected the Indian Army as my career. I joined Indian Army as a short service commissioned officer as a captain in July 1994. I was posted as the regimental medical officer of 17 Guards. It was a special force with anti-tank guided missiles in their arsenals, and they destroyed army tankers in desert warfare. In the army, a 5-kilometer BPT run was a 5-kilometer run. No shortcuts, no escaping. All situations were inevitable. The army experience was all about conquering my fears. I had acrophobia, the fear of heights. Once got into an inevitable situation where I had to hop into a Chetak chopper for a ride. I was given a microphone attached headgear, and suddenly I heard the pilot telling, "Sir, shall I add some more height?" Suddenly they both rolled off their seats laughing when they heard me blurting, "No, no, no, enough, enough, enough." But they took the chopper to more height, and what a sight it was. The blue sky around and the vast desert below, almost an out-of-the-world experience, and my fear of heights disappeared. Then came the ultimate test of my life, the final frontier of fear, the war. Kargil war was the most magnificent coincidence of my life. One afternoon, an emergency meeting was summoned, and it was decided that our unit will move for the war by the end of the daylight. Friends, I had just 2.5 months service. My wife was 8.5 months pregnant, and my daughter 2.5-year-old. The destination was unknown. When we will return was unknown, and whether we will return back was unknown. This was the uncertainty of the war, and that was the toughest goodbye I ever said in my life. The whole unit was deployed all over the desert, and it was the duty of the commanding officer and the RMO to crisscross the desert and boost the morale of the troops. Our 2 platoons were sent to fight the actual war. The ATGMs at a height of 15,000 feet destroyed a number of enemy bunkers and supported the infantry in their operations. They played a huge role in winning back the Tiger Hills in the Dras sector and Jubar and Kukartang Hills in the Batalik sector. On July 25th, after completion of 5 years service, I was released from the army, and with a heavy heart, I left my troops and brother officers and was back. Luckily, the war ended the next day, and India was declared victorious on 26th July. These 5 years, an introvert, timid doctor was trained to become a tough soldier, ready to wage any sort of war against any enemy. The battle had ended, but the real war lay ahead. After a short stint in Command Hospital pursuing my PG in dermatology, I happily settled down in Bangalore in my private practice. But one day, again, the arm of my best friend was on my shoulders, and with a slight nudge, he said, "Chale." And this time, it was the rural Karnataka. I joined the state government service and became the administrative medical officer of Primary Health Center, Namgondlu of Chikkapadapura district. Swami Vivekananda, in his talks, used to say that the enemies of the nation were poverty and ignorance. But if you was a doctor, you would have spoken about other enemies of rural India, like child malnutrition, anemia in pregnancy, maternal death, infant death, and unsafe home childbirths. These would have been the wars which he wanted me to fight. A few years into the service, I was bogged down by hundreds of problems, the main being the 24/7 status of my health center about to be removed. In a master stroke, I introduced an innovative idea, and all my enemies vanished. The idea was community baby shower or Samuhika Simanta Karikrama. People laughed and smirked, but I believed in it. When you have a solid thought process backing up your idea, it will be a super hit. The Samuhika Simanta was based on 3 concepts: celebrating motherhood of a rural pregnant woman, checking thoroughly whether she was ready for childbirth, and showing the hospital facilities and insisting for a safe hospital childbirth. We all the staff members sponsored the first program. This program worked so beautifully for us, and we reached the target of 10 deliveries in our hospital in a month for the first time. And the rest was history. Simanta in my hospital became a brand. There was a mad rush to sponsor the program. We did 30 Seemantas in a row every month. Unsafe home childbirths became history. Maternal deaths were nil. Infant deaths were minimal. The press smelled a mini revolution happening in my hospital. Day in and day out, the Seemanta program made headlines. Safe hospital deliveries became a rule. The entire district and taluk woke up to the concept, and I was named the Seemanta the doctor. An ECG machine was gifted to us by the Lions Club, and this revolutionized the rural heart care also. Meanwhile, I was a regular visitor to the government high school. Once I chanced upon a list on the wall with names and single-digit numbers in front of them. I asked the headmaster about this. He said, these are the marks scored by the 10th standard students. This gave me a jolt. A quote of Swami Vivekananda rang through my ears. So long as the millions live in hunger and ignorance, I hold every person a traitor who, having been educated at their expenses, pays not the least heed to them. I didn't want to be a traitor. So it was another war. I started Vivekananda Bala Vikasa Kendra for rural high school children in the government high school of Namgundu. I replicated what all I had learned in VPS. It was a weekly once class from morning 8 to 10 a.m. All-round development and personality building was the concept. Yoga, art of public speaking, spoken English, current affairs, and a sumptuous breakfast was in the itinerary. This was a huge hit amongst the students and the staff. We ran this for 2 years. By the end of this, we produced two students who went on to become engineers, and one student took up medicine. Again, the priests were thrilled about these activities. Stethoscope jotege lekani hidida sarkari vaidya. A government doctor who held a pen along with the stethoscope became a headline. One more war waged and won. After 12 years of service in rural Karnataka, I got a transfer to Namma Bengaluru. Reconnecting with all my batchmates of Ambedkar Medical College was with intent, and we started the Pacemakers 86 Trust. This was our way of paying a back bit to the society. We started moving towards rural Karnataka with free multi-speciality health checkup camps with all our expertise, diagnosing thousands of cases of hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, gynec problems, made pacemakers a big name in rural Karnataka. Also, we diversified in my many fields, working with children living with HIV, leprosy patients, mentally challenged, screening for cervical, breast, and oral cancers in rural women was our journey. It was just not treating. We also trained. We taught thousands of high school and college children in the art of saving lives through the CPR programs. There was so much humane in our activities. In this process, we became ear to the unheard, eye to the unseen, love to the unloved. Then it was the pandemic COVID-19. Never had the world seen so much of disease, disaster, and death. As a government doctor, I worked in all spheres. The first duty was in the airport, screening all the travelers returning from foreign countries. Then I became the nodal officer of the first quarantine ward for travelers from abroad. It was a huge challenge keeping these unwilling passengers in quarantine. And this was the place we saw the first few cases of COVID-19 in Karnataka. On August 8th, I took over as the Taluk Health Officer of Mahadevapura Zone and Bangalore East Taluk for COVID activities. The onus was testing. I remember doing 1,300 tests on the first day, and in the next 1 to 1.5 months, we went on to make 10,000 COVID tests in a single day. The challenge was the non-receptive population. The fear of getting quarantined if tested positive made the general population resent us. With the same testing teams targeting the same population in the same area and making 10,000 tests each day was our biggest achievement. 100 doctors and 1,000 field staff was my team. Slowly, due to our relentless activity, from 7,000, the cases in Bangalore reduced to 200 per day in January-Feb 2021. As a leader, just not leading the troops in the war was my responsibility. Rewarding also was very important. I shared this idea of felicitation with so many people, and ultimately, the Rotary Clubs of IT Corridor and Indranagar joined hands and gave us a huge felicitation. A memento, certificate of appreciation, goodie bag, and a glittering function in a 5-star hotel was the reward for all the frontline workers. The second wave hit us very, very hard. Nobody was ready for such a deadly assault. I got into a new role of nodal officer of home isolation. Testing, tracking, treating, technology, and vaccination were our mantras. The peak reached 23,000 cases in a day in Bangalore. There were thousands of cases in home isolation. The fear of the disease, death, loneliness haunted the home isolation patients. We had a band of telecallers who were volunteers, and they used to call every home isolation patients and inquired about their well-being. Any medical issues, they used to refer the cases to me. We pacemakers had made a WhatsApp group of different specialties, and we started helping these patients via telemedicine. Personally, I had reached a zen. The calls used to start 6 in the morning and would go up to 12 midnight. I used to speak with every distressed caller with tons of patients and reassure them. It was so fulfilling, touching thousands of people's lives, all strangers clinging on to us for reassurance. The hard work of thousands of health workers and the clamping of the lockdown by the government, the cases started receding. After a long, arduous journey of 1.5 years, the morale of the troops had taken a huge beating. We looked towards the corporate sector to intervene and boost their morale. The help which flew to us was astonishing. Siemens gave a huge bag of grains, enough for a month for a family for all. N95 masks, sanitizers, AAA masks, gloves, and face shields. The weapons needed for the frontline workers were provided in express by many companies. Snacks and juices were given by another company for the very frontline workers. Medicine kits for the home isolation patients were given in surplus quantities by various philanthropists. And an impending third wave. Now, our focus is on the rural population and children. An NGO and a company were instrumental in donating hundreds of oxygen concentrators to the rural PHCs of Gauribidnuru, Kanakpura, Bagepalli, and Gudibanda. A oxygen generator plant is being set up in the COVID care center of HIL by Siemens, and it will be helpful for thousands of patients. Pacemakers 86 Trust is ready with a 30-bedded COVID care center for children if need arises. Ever since I was a high school student, I had this dream of working in Biligiri Rangana, Petta. So my next stop is to work with the Soliga tribes of the Bihar Hills. We are planning 2 days camp in a month and work with the children, malnutrition, and anemia and pregnancy of this tribe. The nation gives a clarion call to everyone. It's our duty to respond to it. Serving in the army, the rural Karnataka, starting the Pacemakers 86 Trust, and fighting this COVID pandemic was my response. What about you? Jai Hind.
I now request Major Aditi Mohan to share her thoughts with all of us.
So they say that do not follow where the path may lead, but go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Good morning, everyone, my lovely students and the staff out there and people who are watching us on the YouTube live. Yellarigu namaskara. We are ordinary people who led an extraordinary life. When your mom and dad, they were in their skirts and jeans, we wore the olive greens and the combats. When they wore a blush and hair gels, our glamour portion was a tar on our faces. When they carried their Gucci's and Louis Vuittons, we carried our LMGs and the brick orders. When they wore the derby hats, we wore camouflaged helmets and a berets with honor. When you watched your television sets and radios listening to war updates in your homes, we were dumping ammunition at borders and losing lives. When you ate food served on platters and pizzas, we were served khichidis with sand, and the love of villagers got us the food too. When you bathed in cozy waters, we were in duck tents and makeshift bathrooms, and much, much more. That's the story of every officer, and mine too. Born and brought up in the family of olive greens with my father, having served the Indian Army for 35 years as a gunner, air defense artillery. He hung his uniform as a colonel. But with both my siblings in the forces, I think it was very natural, and it seemed that I would end up becoming an army officer myself. Well, that was perhaps not the first thought, and it wasn't easy at all. When did it really start? I was a sports person in my school, and a pretty good one, ladies and gentlemen. Extremely good at studies, a topper, did very well in school, monitor, prefects, a lot of participation in your co-curricular activities like debates, extempos, dances, songs, tournaments, the best sports girl, etc., etc., etc. Passing out as the head girl of the school was also a feather in the cap. But you know what? It was always not that way. I do know for a fact that I flunked in my nursery. And until my 8th standard, I couldn't even speak fluent English. A very sweet classmate of mine helped me with how I need to present myself. And we started practicing daily. It taught me failures are a part and parcel of life. And it's never too late to learn. I was a free bird, ready to fly. Soon I was out of college, wanting to do my MBA, but my pensionable colonel father, the retired officer, he didn't have that amount of money during those days, and I'm talking about 80s. किसी चीज को अगर शिद्दत से चाहो तो सारी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने में लग जाती है. I did manage to do my MBA, don't get disheartened, but of course, after I gave birth to my 2 girls who were barely infants at that time. Until when I went to receive my older sister at the railway station, and that was the most interesting and a turning point in my life, because I realized when she walked down the stairs at the railway station with stars on her shoulder and the olive greens that she was wearing, there was this JCO Sahab standing out there who was actually smoking a bidi. And I know that as he watched her coming down the stairs, he threw the bidi, he stood in Savdhan, and all he did, Jai Hind Sahab. That was the time I realized that this is what I wanted to do. And I was also getting up to be. I worked, I studied hard, I trained myself along with my schoolmates for my SSB. And yes, I did clear it out of hundreds. Many of us who were there, a handful were chosen, merely just 5 of us. Being a Fauji's daughter, and siblings who've already made it in the army, the SSB panel, the service selection board, as they rightly call it, they actually grill you left, right, center, mentally, physically, to test you and tell you that Fauj is not a cakewalk. And just being a Fauji brat, as we are famously known as well, it does not entitle us to be a Fauji by default. You really need to work hard. The day came when I had to leave for my training to the Officers Training Academy at Chennai. Of course, the place was not unknown to me because I played my badminton nationals there. But going there to come out as an officer was surely a challenge and more of an excitement and an achievement. Despite being one of the best students, the best sports person, my grandfather used to call me Kamzor Sipahi, the weak soldier. Even when I was a child, I know that I used to read stories to him, and I would get that 10 ana 10 paisa. I guess perhaps then that my Baba, who was so fond of me, he saw it in me that there are always going to be challenges and you need to overcome all of it. The grind started. 6 months of rigorous training where just 33 of us, we trained hard with a platoon commander wanting to prove to the other gentlemen cadets that we were known less. And I thank him for making us so strong, not only physically, but mentally as well. Whenever I tried to fail a jump, ladies and gentlemen, my ustads, both drill instructor and my sport instructor, they used to push me even harder. And they would shout, Aditya Mohini. I remembered the Madhuri Dixit time. And take that frog leap with, like your sister did. The other one would scream, dig, dig, dig. You need to break the drill square with a thump of your shoes. My sister had passed out last year, a year back, from the OTA Chennai, and the striking resemblance was something that always put me in comparison with her. I would smile to myself while I was very proud of that, but the sibling rivalry was always there. And I guess it pushed me even more to do better. At each point of time, you had to prove your mettle. Yes, deep down, we have to make a place of our own. Every girl, every boy had to and has to. I won the debate competition among all the 400 lady and gentlemen cadets in the entire academy that year. One of the biggest achievements, as it had never happened before, that a lady cadet had won the debate competition. The practice was also not easy. I do remember my officer getting after my life. We were practicing in the bathrooms, we were practicing in the drill square, we were doing all of it. Badminton was anyways my game, so I won that title as well. I got commissioned in the year 1997 as an officer in the Army Service Corps. My alma mater is here in Bangalore. My first posting was a staff appointment as ADC to the Commandant, the General Staff. Very flashy, it seems, but believe you me, let me tell you, it has its own ups and downs, and it made me learn a lot how the forces operated at that level. I served at various parts of India, everywhere, even as a child, being an army officer's daughter, and of course, as an army officer myself. But the best moments I recollect was when I participated in the Kargil War and Op Parakram. We are the supporting arm, leading convoys in dire situations, through and through in difficult terrains, and under tough conditions. You're dumping ammunition, you're there throughout the night, and your seniors only telling you to perform the task multiple times in a day, and you don't say no. You end up being an inspiration to men you command, each one looking up to you. Real victory happens when a Jawan of a different company in a battalion wants to work under you and looks up to you for his welfare. And the transition happened. When I hung my uniform after 8 long years, the meritorious service in the Indian Army, in 2004, I joined the corporate world. But the OG attitude and its hardcore training, the moral values, they all remained within me. I had to make a mark in the civil world. I had to start from a scratch. I joined the corporate world as an assistant manager, having served as a substantive major with the Ashoka Chakra on my shoulders, but I had to start from a scratch. Of course, today, it's been a long journey, 26 years now, that I hold a position as a vice president and a corporate services head in my reputed organization, Fidelity National Financial. Yes, there are not many of us in this field, and I'm into handling the entire gamut of logistics end to end. I'm taking care of everything around, and having grown up the ladder with no godfathers, no godmothers around, it ain't easy. I can tell you, with so many just trying to find out how. It is the best thing to happen to you if people you work for or you don't even work for tell you you're a needle in a haystack. Indeed, as a woman, and I would say here, because in our Indian society, you do end up proving yourself everywhere, but anyone who has lived a life with complete honesty and integrity has nothing to fear. End of the day, my belief is you should be able to face yourself in the mirror and feel proud of who you are. Come what may. That makes your character. जो आंधियों से गुजरते हैं वो तूफान का थम समझते हैं, गर कश्ती जो डूबे तो वो लहरों की मस्ती समझते हैं. And that is when you feel accomplished, when the top man of your firm, who has met you just the first time in your life, leaves you with a compliment on your persona, your ability to perform, your ability to lead, and makes a statement, Major, you outstead everyone. These remarks give you a boost and, of course, encourage your morale and motivates you to keep doing better. Being honest and exhibiting the right values with integrity in your work, it takes a lot of courage, students. And if you are one, then you're surely doing something right. Today, I take pride that I try to live a life with no regrets, contributing my time and life for those who need support and help. In this short span of life, I have lived a life of a teacher. And let me tell you, even today, I live a life of a teacher. I have a 12-year-old girl. Of course, I have a 15-year-old girl as well. My 12-year-old is my Tare Zamite, and we are a team together. I also was an academic counselor, continuing my graduation. Then I became an army officer. I did the dance on the streets as well as a small stint being a politician when I was the campaign manager to the MP candidate. Believe you me, I went to every gully, every slum, and I'm sure you would have seen a little video around that was sent out to you all. Those are those days that, teach you that what is real life. A corporate player handling critical BCP situations of strikes, and you know that Karnataka, for one, is famous for not only its gardens, but also for its strikes. The social service to the community and society in my own little way, I continue to do actually with my profession all along. My profession does occupy most of the day, but I try to find time to make sure that I'm there where help is needed, and every part of my life has been a life-changing experience, a transforming experience. The realization of being human, every day I challenge myself to look for opportunities where my life has a meaning, to be, whether it's standing for a cause where kids are involved, whether it is the Nirbhaya or the Pinkathon. And I remember when I was in fact fighting myself with all the diseases that I had, and what you see of me today, ladies and gentlemen, I must say that yes, it took a lot to bounce back. With having all of that, I drove campaigns on social media with Charles uncles, little babies, collecting 22 lakhs. And I do know that begging hands, I did not even know that you had something called Milap as a crowdfunding site, and begging money in front of people, knocking every door and collecting that 22 lakhs just to save was a challenge. It happens, it just goes on, but when you end up being called as the godmother of the kids, that is something that you really want to enjoy. This has never stopped, whether it is from Sabita Datta to Charles kids, to Kalpana auntie, to Kerala floods, and anything and everything else. Times Women Car Rally was another adventure that I tried my hands on, because the money was being contributed for the treatment of cancer of people. For me, it never stops. The latest catastrophe in Kerala was another service where, with the help of all my fellow Bangaloreans, few of us being the front runners, we sent around 200 tons of relief material by air, by road, by trucks, and now the truck, which was 20 trucks in total, they never left my site, my Godam, my location, without a Jai from my end. The trucks were not chargeable at all. And this was when the flood had hit the state, when the water was there, not when the water was receding. In fact, everybody came to help. I think it's very rightly said that God chooses his own people and perhaps chooses who he thinks can step up to it. I've come to believe that only women get to wear several hats. No offense, men, to the boys out there, and have many role plays in their lives, which we very beautifully demonstrate. We sure are the multitaskers, and I, for one, take a lot of pride in being a woman. I'm blessed that I have two little young angels in my life who think I can do anything on this earth when they see what all has been done from the time we stood along with the community, with the candlelight peace protests, and whatever was happening at that point of time, to how Charles uncle, as they would call him back, had his babies discharged from the hospital and shared it with pride with the circle of friends. When the school was collecting material to transport to Kerala, they said, Ma, why are they collecting it? They should send it to your location center. My office parking had practically become the largest collection center at that time. Instead to transport it from their school, I mean, you've already sent so much. Such is the innocence of what a child can see and what can inspire them. Today, the same dyslexic child writes articles and writes poems. For me, I personally believe winter always turns to spring, and it is always in your hands to change your poison into medicine. 2020 was a year of pandemic, and it still continues. When pandemic hit the nation, someone had to step up. There were groups, official groups, which were actually shut down, closed, because no one wanted to hear the negative news that were floating around. But that's not what we are. We lead from the front. We are the crisis management people. And that's when I started my 3 COVID task forces. And the entire fraternity was put together. We were helping people, saving lives. It's very, very difficult to explain and to talk in just few seconds as to what really transpired from 2020 to date. Of course, we know the second wave was the toughest. I can only share, and I'm not sure how much you can fathom, that I would not move myself from the table on the near next to my bedside. I was awake till 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and I've lost sleep. I have to tell you, I have lost sleep. And it has been very, very overwhelming because we were saving lives across India. किसी की जान जा रही है, किसी को ECMO चाहिए, किसी के पास ऑक्सीजन नहीं है. Major Aditi, Major Aditi, Major Aditi, bed चाहिए, Major Aditi, oxygen चाहिए, Major Aditi, Delhi जाना, Major Aditi, ashes डाल रहे. So there have been sleepless nights, but we continue to help. My biggest reward is the respect and the gratitude that I've earned for the work I do selflessly. It was also an honor that I received from the DCP Bengaluru, who came with a larger than life memento when he drove with a convoy of 4 cars with his entire team. That was surely a single moment for me. I did receive an award from the Women Economic Forum for being the iconic women. Of course, many awards followed. One of the most memorable ones was from my mentor, Miss Kiran Bedi, who's awarded me the best 20 women in security across India, making it to top 5 organized by the Security Update. This was another single moment as I received it from the lady Singham in India. As I continue to work in my professional space, I'm continuing to extend my services as voluntary and honorary work for the women of Karnataka as the Wiki Karnataka State President for Defense Personnel Council. This is a movement to help women across the state during these times, and of course for many years to continue, and bring in sisterhood. Every experience makes you a better person and an outstanding human being, and I'm quite determined, and I've always promised to myself and been that way, to remain the woman I am, to remain the person I am, to remain the human I am, to remain the officer I am. Because most of you young girls and boys, and even my own kids, are watching me. One wrong step and they will break down. So don't do wrong, don't be the wrong, and don't tolerate the wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop this by saying, that lion is not the most tallest animal or the most intelligent animal, but he still is the king of the jungle. And why is that? Because he has the swag, he has the attitude, the right attitude to lead. Shah Rukh Khan isn't the best looking actor or the best dancer in Bollywood, but he's known as the Badshah of Bollywood. You know why? Because he has the swag, he has the right attitude. So have the right swag and the world will follow you. Our motto in the SE says, Seva Asmakam Dharmaha. And I try to live each day by it. Every job wants you to meet the targets, but this one, the soldier in you wants you to take them down. So be bold, act brave, stay humble, and be awesome. Be the hero of your life, make it a blockbuster story, and make it a damn good one. Be your own inspiration. सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है दम कितना बाजुए कातिल में है. I shall leave you with my 3 Paramveer Chakras. This is the highest gallantry award. It says, be patient, all comes in good time. Have the passion to achieve well in life with your hard work and sincerity. And you know what? Keep looking pretty. Now, at 47, I'm trying my best, but that's about keep staying pretty, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, with your dedication and commitment towards your education, your work, your career. My 3 ways: keep your vision very clear, have the focus in life, stay happy, stay vivacious, because you have to overcome a lot of challenges, a lot of hardships, but overcome them with a very wide smile. When all of the top 5 are followed, victory will always be at your doorstep. End of the day, this is all that matters. and makes a better you. Tagda raho, khush raho, stay well, and Jai Hind.
And now, presenting before you, an equally talented individual who has used his brain power for the upliftment of today's youth, Mr. Mayank Solanki. Creator of the world's first value education lab, Mayank Solanki is a youth prodigy and educational entrepreneur who belongs to a niche category of youth who's redefining and re-engineering character education for children and youth. He is winner of the Times of India I Lead India initiative, Rotary Group's Young Achiever Award 2016, Gratitude Fellowship 2021 from the Gratitude Network USA, and many more in recognition of his dedication and commitment to make the world a better place through his thoughts, ideas, and actions. I now request Mr. Mayank Solanki to grace with us his thoughts and experiences.
A very good morning to everyone who's present over here. Today, I would like to share with you what I believe could be done for any person in this world to find a sense of joyful meaning and purpose in their life. Isn't that something which all of us crave for? And what if we could find that very early in our life when we are young? Let me start with the story of my father. So he's an eye surgeon, and he used to tell this story to me all the time. When he was a young starting off doctor, along with his mentor, he spent time in a small town called Disa in Gujarat. They used to organize huge camps where thousands of people would come seeking for medical attention, eye surgeries, and medicines. One day, my father encountered a small girl who came along with her grandfather and her grandmother. She took the hand of her grandfather and placed it in the hand of my father. And she said, "Please fix the bread earners of my family. I do not have a father. I do not have a mother. They are my only source of bread." That hand clasp of my father changed something within him. It gave him such a strong feel that what he was doing made a huge difference in the peoples of life who could possibly never repay him back. And that was the beauty of it. My father smiled and he said, "I promise I will do everything in my power and ability and talent to give your grandfather their vision back." A few days later, they were able to do that. You see, something changed in my father's in that moment. And he proclaimed to everyone has a right to see. And to give them this right will be the life's mission that I will live by. And it was all of a sudden that this life's mission drove him and gave him those strengths which was dormant inside of him. I yesterday asked my brother, who's also an eye surgeon, how many surgeries does an eye surgeon do on an average in their life? And he said, maybe about 20, 25,000. And my jaw dropped because my father, in his 30-year-old career, and he's still so active, has done over 300,000 surgeries, 200,000 of them completely free of cost for those people who hail from small villages, towns, slums, completely free of cost. Can you imagine that when you're driven by something with that passion and purpose, what you can achieve? Magically, he tired lesser. He could work longer days, even on a weekday or a weekend. He was more focused. His concentration and commitment was heightened. He was able to see and solve things so creatively simply because of his immense desire to help people. And I wanted to have that for myself as well. And I'm sure a lot of you do. So I, as a teenager, inspired by him, also started going to these camps to do my bit. When I was 9 years old, I remember my first eye camp experience. I was a torch boy. So I used to stand next to my father, holding the torch, helping him see these patients. And it was an amazing joy because I was always called, "Look, our youngest volunteer is here. Our youngest doctor is here." They gave me that kind of pride. But I also remember very interesting things which I saw during those camps. Not only was I helping them hold that torch, but I was listening to the conversation between a doctor and a patient. Every second patient I knew folded their hands and thanked the doctor because they were going to get their vision back. My father said, if it's an avoidable blindness, no one should suffer this fate. I remember my father putting his hand on the shoulder, on the patient's shoulder, and always reassuring them, giving them faith, asking them to smile and telling that all will be well. That was an amazing thing to do. And it connected with me for one more reason. When I was in school, I was a very lanky, thin guy, a little bit of an odd guy, a little weirdo of sorts, couldn't speak very well, couldn't definitely think, didn't look very well, didn't score too much. I was the average guy. I was the guy who would someone be at the side of the road. And for that reason, I was bullied, I was ignored, I was kept out of the circles which I wanted to be part of, and I saw solace in these things. But I always imagined, what if there was a person like my father inside my school, someone who would put a hand on my shoulder and say, it's going to be okay, I'm here for you. And that inspired me. When I was 18 years old, I started an organization with my friends called Yuva Ignited Minds. And the simple objective was to bring young people with goodness and kindness in their heart to make a difference on any societal issue that they connected with. And so we simply started. In the last 12 years, and Yuva is still active even today, we've done over 200 plus events. We have served over 300,000 young people, needy people, poor people. We didn't see which background they came from. But the greatest number which inspires me and makes me feel good about myself is that over 2,000 young people volunteered in different capacities. Many of them went down to lead the organization in different years. Many of them started their own organizations and initiatives, both inside and outside this country. You see, my father found his sense of purpose and joy in serving people. And I also coincidentally found them through those camps. But the difference was I found that sense of purpose when I was able to invite, inspire young people to join together. I was seeking for redemption. And so one fateful day, I sat down and I reflected, what is it that helps me use my gifts to the maximum limit possible? And that's a question I want all of you to think about. What gives you a sense of joy where you feel active, excited, energetic, and which you feel that I could do this all day? My father has no Monday blues. He sleeps like a baby at night and wakes up like a rooster in the morning. How many of us would like to have that? One of the most amazing definitions of work my dean in college taught me was work is love made visible. And the day you start doing what you love for a living, it's the last day that you would ever be working. And so when I reflected, I thought about if there was one place that I could make a difference, that it would be at school. I wanted to help one child be bullied lesser. I wanted one girl to be teased lesser. I wanted one person to be pulled out and excluded from circles because of the way they looked and the sound. I wanted to make a difference over there. And so I packed my bag, I left my corporate job, and for probably about 1.5 years, I backpacked and I traveled to 17 states of this country, simply trying to understand how do you build goodness, happiness, joyfulness, successfulness in children. I went to 17 states. I did small programs. I learned from parents. I learned from students. I learned from gurus. I learned from authors. I did all of that. And after 1.5 years, I knew that there are a few ways that things could be done different. Do you remember that when you were younger, or probably even now, you have a subject called moral science, something which is so important because it teaches exactly the things I'm talking about. It teaches you to be a good person, a good friend, a good citizen, a good human. But unfortunately, I also remember when I was in school, it was very preachy. It was filled with the stories of role models who I couldn't relate to. None of them were alive. And also that it was taught in a way that no one cared about. And the reason was, in our country, it's treated as a co-curricular, as a graded subject. Neither our parents or honestly, some of our teachers also took it very seriously. And I felt, how can something that matters so much be treated with such disdain? I knew that I found a place to work in. There were two things. My father, my mother, my friends always told me, two things which stand you out, which are better than a lot of things which you have. The way you can communicate what you feel about something and the way you can think about it. Creativity and communication was my special sauce. And so I started thinking, how can I make a difference in this space? There were so many problems to solve. Our educational system is incredibly complex. But I had to start with one step, and I thought I'd figured my way around from there. And so I did. I thought about those classrooms that I sat in, that school infrastructure which I sat in. And we sat for 8 hours a day in the same place, barely moving around. I work today and I do the same thing. How can we put small children through the same thing again? So I thought, what if we created a place which was so inspiring, so motivating, so colorful that a child would come alive, would feel excited to learn these things intrinsically and not because someone else told them. And that was my idea. Dear students, dear young people and teachers in this world, if we can have a computer lab to teach computer, if we can have a science lab to teach science, if we can have a math lab to teach math, why shouldn't we have a character lab to teach character? Why shouldn't we have a values lab to teach values? Now, it sounded great as an idea, but who would make one? I knew that if I went going on requesting and giving ideas, I would listen to the slamming of the door many times. And that's what happened. I took this idea, I conceptualized it, I got a lot of help from people of how it could be. But I didn't get a chance. For 2 years, I kept this idea on hold, thinking that I'm going to do it one day, I'm going to do it one day. Eventually, I realized that this dream is always going to be inside that place, inside with me, in my graveyard, if I don't do something about it. So one day I simply woke up. I went to that one school, that one principal who I really treated and I trusted a lot. The reason was she was my principal when I was in school. I simply said, ma'am, I have a dream that I want one classroom in your school. And finally, after so many requests, one school gave me one classroom and said, do what you wish. I was so excited. I spent so much time over there with my friends, with the ones whom I was working with, to build the world's first values lab. And I want to show you what that looks like. And I want to see and feel that you see that excitement of a child entering into a completely different space. So here's what it looks like. This is what our first values lab looked like. You see the teacher and what's behind her? That's something which looks like a lotus going towards the sun. Well, I removed all furniture from the classroom. I removed all the blackboards, everything which was traditional and part of every classroom. I removed everything out. And I said, what if our boards look like that? What if we had such a beautiful space which you feel that, wow, that's something which I want to write on. That's what I want to look at. And I created something called values boards. Then I said that I know that to teach values and character, we use so many stories and it's one of the most engaging things. So what if we had a dedicated place just to tell stories? So we created one of our dedicated story corner spaces. And this is actually a real form of a book. It opens up like pages and the background changes as per the crowd in front of them. Whether a child is of grade 4 or of grade 10, everyone could enjoy this space. But I didn't stop over there. I said, what if we could learn from each other beyond our classrooms? I used to love learning from my seniors. So I created a real kind of a space. And I said that, what if right from grade 4 to grade 10, students could learn from the journeys of each other? So we made a values journey kind of a space. I said, what if we could make a place where children could speak out? So we created a speak your heart space where any child could write in a message. When I was that small boy getting bullied, getting ignored, I wanted to reach out, but I was scared that if I did that, people would say, what a crybaby. Even to my teachers who always said that you can come and speak anything to us. I never got that comfort, but I wanted to speak it out. So I created a place where any person could share any concern, any suggestion, any confession, just in that box, and they would get an answer back anonymously. You see those pipes in the right over here? Those pipes are actually whispering pipes. A child and a teacher could speak to each other without the aggression, without other people knowing what is talking about. And over there, I wanted to create a very colorful space where even appreciation and gratitude could be done. So we created a wall called Leading Light so that children could nominate and celebrate their friends who they feel have done amazing things in their life. What if our schools and our classrooms look like this? Now, this was our first lab. As we worked on top of it, as more schools like what we did, we started building more and more unique labs. And some of our labs look like this today. They are bigger, they're more colorful, they have more structures. We have now video conferencing where we have role models from across the world who can join in and speak and share and learn with children, and children can speak to them. We created spaces where stories now can be told in the most digital tech way, plus the traditional way. We created a space where there were more whispering pipes. Children could speak to children as well. And we took that concept of being able to speak to one more level. This is a place called Express to De-Stress. We put 5 boxes instead of 1, and we said, depending on the intensity of your need, put in a letter and we reach out to you immediately, as important as your need would be. So many children wrote to us about different things at home, at school, in person, which they needed help with. And I knew this was an instant at that time. We also went ahead and we made a 20-foot wall with an entire description of India, women, and scientists. And this is one of the most amazing projects which we got to do in one of the schools. Imagine if your class wall looked like this, your class board looked like that. We then said that what if we created an entire space where we could put notes and share our personal learnings with each other through these. So we put pads on walls of rough board cardboards over there, the whole thing. We made the whole place look like a reflection of India's culture. We also created something called a Seva Corner. I knew that giving is a quality which makes us so insightful, so calm, makes you feel good, and also grounded at the same time. So we actually took a real cart which they sold, which they sell vegetables on, and we cut it into half a piece and we put it over there. Every week, a child could give anything they want, a toy, grocery, stationery, and we would collect it together. And every month, one grade would get a chance to go and distribute it out over there. The power of giving is immense. We also created a place where they could now appreciate each other. The one on the right is an actual meditation box. I knew the power and peace of calm. In our coming schools, we're making this beneath trees also now. Imagine having your Buddha moment sitting over there. The thing about places is that the more you work on these places, the more beautiful our school looks like. They say that God exists everywhere, but we still build temples, right? Because we feel that consecrated presence over there. We feel that atmosphere over there. And I want to change the landscape of our schools. I want it to be not just a center of learning, but a center of healing, a place where a child wants to go and feel that with or without my teacher, this place teaches me that. So that is how I started my journey. And that is what I've been doing now today. The last part of what I would like to say is this. If you want to find your sense of purpose, think about 2 things. 1, what you truly care about. What makes you feel a sense of joy that I really want to work on this? Or what gives you a sense of pain that I cannot accept this? Those are the 2 greatest inspirations. If you don't know where to find a pain point, I suggest simply take a book, go to your house, look at every single place where you feel that something is wrong, is inefficient, go to your school, go to a public space, note down everything which is wrong or a pain for you or for people out over there. And that would be the beginning. And the second one, think about one thing which you're really good at. All of us do a lot of things, but think, what is that one thing I can do a lot of times? If you figure these 2 out, when you bring it together, like I brought my communication and creativity to my passion in education to build good children, kind children, helpful children, that's where the magic sauce comes together. Remember one last thing. Happiness is not the opposite of sadness. You can be happy and fail, struggle, be in pain at the same time. Like my father, who worked 18 hours a day, non-stop, no weekends for 20, 25, 30 years. and still was able to be a great father, a great husband to my mom, a great friend to his friends, all of it at the same time. You can achieve anything and everything that you want if you put your mind to it. So it's as simple as this. All those things which give us happiness might not give us a sense of purpose and meaning, but things that give us a sense of purpose and meaning will for sure give you happiness. I ask of you to rise above and make this world a better place through your special sauce. So let's make this a place where you can find your turning point like I found it as a small boy in that camp. Thank you so much.
Now presenting before you, Mr. Yash Aradhya.
Hi, everyone. A warm good morning to everyone, all the students, respected teachers, staff, and all the speakers. It was really inspiring to listen to all the speakers and their stories and the journey that they've been on. And yeah, here's mine, and I would like to share mine with you. So yeah, what I would like to start off with is a saying that I've always believed in. It's called "No dreamers ever too big, and no dreamer ever too small." And by saying this, what do I mean? It's not the dreams that you see in your sleep. It's the dreams that does not let you sleep. And by saying no dreamer ever too small, no dreamer ever too big, what I mean to say is that no dreamer is ever too small. You can care of any age to have a big vision, big dream. And I would like to say, keep dreaming so you can achieve your goals whenever, at whatever point you want in your life. It all depends upon you. So before I start off, I would like to tell you some stuff about myself before I can talk to you about. Today, I'll be talking to you guys about my 7 golden rules that I follow. But before that, I would like to say, what did I do? What do I do? So I'll show you my next slide, which is, I'm a race car driver. And at the age of 9, I started with go-karting. Go-karting is the basic of motorsport, and it's the foundation for motorsport. After working hard and winning 5 championships from 2012 to 2017, I then graduated to the Indian Formula racing cars called the Formula 1300 or LGB, the blue car that you see there next to the go-kart. So yeah, I did my debut in 2017, and I pretty much won all the championships I participated in. Sorry, sorry for that. The fire alarm went on. Anyway, so then I moved to MRF 1600, which is the Formula 4 championship cars, and the Formula BMW, which you can see right before the orange cars. And along with the Formula BMW, I won a few races in each of the championships, the BMW and the 1600. Then I finally graduated to Formula 4 Southeast Asia and won a few podiums. And I also raced in the French Formula.
You may carry on, Yash.
Sorry, the fire alarm is going on. Then I graduated to Formula 4. I'm so sorry for that. And I did my Southeast Asia and won a few podiums. I also raced in the French Formula 4 Championship. The coming year, I will be racing in Europe in Formula 4, then move to Formula 3, 2, and 1. So that's the procedure. And last thing I would say about myself is my achievements. In 8 years, I won 13 championships, around 65 podiums and 13 awards. In 2017, I've had a record of 33 podiums in 1 year. Looking at my achievements in 2020, I was bestowed upon the highest civilian award for kids under 18 years, the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Shakti Puraskar Award from the President of India. And moving forward, how did I do it is, I think, the question that most of the students might have. And I would like to say, a dream is not what you see in your sleep. Like I said earlier on, a dream is something that doesn't let you sleep. It's said by the famous APJ Abdul Kalam. And the next, we move on to the 7 golden rules that I've set for myself. So rule number 1, dream big. And if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. So by saying that, I would like to quote, sorry, go back to the previous slide. Yeah, so by saying that, I would like to say, I would first understand what you are pursuing and what is the pinnacle of that you're looking forward to. It may look very large or big at the beginning, but split the plan into a smaller goals and achieve one by one, stage by stage, and you will be there. You'll get there one day. And in my case, the pinnacle of motorsports is Formula One that I want to pursue. When I started it, it looked like a highly impossible dream because it requires a lot of backing and funding. With a methodological planning, like I shared in my earlier slide, that I believe is now achievable. So I strongly believe that things will happen if one has a strong determination. And the next rule that I would like to say is believe in yourself. And as you all know, this is Muhammad Ali. And to be a great champion, you must believe that you are the best. If you're not, pretend you are. That's the kind of attitude you kind of want to have if you're into some kind of sport or anything in life, I guess. But let me start off by saying there are many athletes and competitors who will try to psych you with their attitude, throwing their tantrums and trying to play mind games. Be clear that you are the best. You are here to prove who you are to the world. There will always be many naysayers who will always tell you that this cannot be done. No one has ever done it before. So can you do it is the biggest question they will ask you. Sometimes, I would say even your own parents would probably doubt you, saying, can you get a 95 in your exams or 98 in your exams? But can you do it is the question. So just believe in yourself that it's your time and you are the absolute best. And trust me, the determination and the power that the mind's got, you can achieve anything in this world. And the next rule I would like to say is stay focused. So by saying this, you can see Bruce Lee's quote. By saying this, I'd like to say laser-like focus means aligning your thoughts, patterns, belief system, emotions, and actions with your goals consistently. If you want to become significant in your life, you need to align with your set goals. Stop looking at 2 directions at the same time and start focusing like a laser. In this world of multiple distractions, it is very easy to get distracted. So I'd point out 3 things in this is stay away from distractions, be it playing with your friends or video games, etc. I don't say that you shouldn't do it at all, but if you do it, I'd say, get it over with soon because you don't want to be addicted to it. And the second point I would say is you need to be sharp to analyze what is happening amongst your competition if you're in a sport or anything that has competition, and in your amongst your competition and in your country, and then in global scenario as well. Like, it's always good to read the news and know what's happening around you, especially with the whole COVID scenario. And third point is no matter what happens around you, do not lose focus from your dreams and your goals. So moving on to the next slide is hard work. So rule number 4, is hard work. Through hard work, even the mediocre can achieve success is something that I believe in. There's never any shortcuts to success, but hard work complemented with the desire to achieve, determination, and always being motivated to get after your goal, it makes success become bigger. So I'll again list out 3 points. Muhammad Ali says, he's one of my favorite, he's one of my role models. So I like to take his quote again. I hated every minute of my training, but I said to myself, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. So it is clear that there is no substitute to hard work if you're trying to look for shortcuts. And note, just doing hard work without proper guidance and planning is of no use. Plan it, take advice of right coaches, and work hard and focus on your goals. While talking about hard work, I'd also like to say to those writing their 10th, 12th, and all of you guys is, I mean, right now I know the whole situation's online for you guys and classes are online. It's very easy to cheat and copy in exams, but remember, you're the one that's going to pay for it later on. So might as well burn your midnight oil, put in the hours now, and study for your exams that will really matter and help you in life. So moving on, rule number 5, I would say, is accepting failure. This does not mean that you shouldn't expect to fail, but when it happens, accept it. There is value in failure. Through failure, you will get to know yourself better and you will learn from your mistakes. Failures makes us rethink. It helps us like rethink and reconsider and find new ways and strategies to achieve our goals. Don't be afraid to fail. Make mistakes, but do not repeat your mistakes. Make new ones. The way you can learn and grow. Remember, you don't have a long life to do all the mistakes yourself and learn. Look at other people's mistakes, analyze it and where they went wrong, and make sure you don't do the same mistake. Rule number 6 is right attitude. So our attitude is what influences all our actions. It is the only right attitude which gets us good results. All the smiles and handshakes are not going to get you far if you do not have the attitude to win and respect your competitors and competition. No matter how many people have achieved before you, believe in yourself that you can be better than all of them and set your own.
Good afternoon, everyone. The day we all had been waiting for, the event into which we had put our heart and soul into, has culminated today. It is my honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this marvelous occasion. I offer my deepest gratitude to our talented speakers, Dr. Raghunath, Major Aditi, Mr. Mayank Solanki, and Mr. Yasharadhya. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedules and sharing your words of wisdom, your thoughts, and inspiring us all today. I would like to offer my sincere thanks to our revered chairman, Shri K. Rahman Khan sir, Member of Parliament, Chairman KKECT, for his mission of providing holistic education and for supporting us in all our endeavors, and Mr. Mansoor Ali Khan for giving us this wonderful opportunity and encouraging us to take up this initiative. My heartfelt thanks to our principal, Ms. Manila Carvalho, who has been an exemplary and visionary mentor, and our vice principal, Ms. Preeti Suta, for being our guiding force and facilitating us in putting up today's show. I extend my earnest gratitude to all my teachers, especially Ms. Lopamudra, Ms. Srinidhi, Ms. Usha, Ms. Saparna, and Ms. Suchi Smita for helping and guiding us in making today's event a great success. Today's event would not have been possible without the members of the core team, Geetika, Avni, and Kaushal, for coming together along with me and believing and giving shape to the dream that we had envisioned. Last but not the least, I would like to thank each and every member in the audience for being here with us today. Without you, all of this event would not have been possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini. And with that, we come to the end of today's show. Thank you all for joining us. And